Good evening, and welcome to episode 17 of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host, Lockefox, and we should have quite an interesting show in store for you. First, as always, let's start with special notes and show news. Again, I want to pimp out the Tweetfleet Slack server. If you guys want to hang out with me outside of the show, off of air, outside of YouTube, come join the Tweetfleet Slack. I'll have links in the I'll have links everywhere there should be links, and that's where I'm doing the community outreach. I'm not in game often enough to really talk with you guys, but I'm on Slack all the time, and it goes straight to my phone. So, second order of business is it's still CSM season. The candidacy announcement period has ended. And CCP Lilu is going through the candidates. Last count I heard was 77 candidates will be onto this year's ballot. So keep tuned to Cap Stable for their interviews and their meta-analysis. I know they're doing somewhere close to 50 recordings by the time this is all said and done. Voting should open next week, I believe. So again, I will have notes on that in the upcoming shows. As always, I will have the Prosper voting ticket. And we'll talk more about CSM next week for sure. Next, I wanted to highlight something that came across my desk just today from Commander Keen. He has been working on this really slick piece of graphing where he wants to highlight the build price and the market price of items. I know he's still working on some of the outputs and styles, but I was really impressed. It's super slick, and I'm hoping he releases something a little wider soon. I just wanted to show it off because it's cool, and you guys should give him some love. Next, I wanted to open the doors. I'm not recruiting for Aderon, but I wanted to say that we're opening up a contest for logos. I am looking for something like the Aderon logo here, where nice and clean, something like a news icon kind of thing as a icon for the show, so I can go and do banners and icons and podcast album art and all that stuff. We're working on deploying a site hopefully by the first week of March, and I would love some help getting an icon. So I've put a couple of feelers out, and they keep coming back with kind of not what I'm really looking for. So if you have the talent, if you have friends who can do graphic design, please get in contact with me. I'll be giving away a PLEX or two depending on the thing. I hope to have this done in the next couple of weeks. I would really, really, really appreciate some help getting this done. So even if you can pass along a guy who you know might be good about this for me to get in contact with, I would be so appreciative. Next, as always, we'll go on to the news. First piece of news is my butt is space famous. We did the hydrostatic lore panel for Tiamat a few weeks back, and about a week ago, actually almost exactly a week ago because it released the Friday after last week's show, they released a new scope trailer with scientists debating the theories of the new lore events, and that is the lore panel from Tiamat. So, or at least the backsides of everyone who was on that lore panel. So, super excited to see that. That was a huge thing. I'd like to thank all of the guests who showed up to that, and I also want to thank CCP for featuring me on there, even though I didn't say anything on the show. I just drove the camera. Moving on, there's been a new ship announced as a tie-in to the CSM 10 election, they're releasing the Council Diplomatic Shuttle. This thing, it looks really sweet. It's supposed to be a Concorde shuttle with all the guns removed. This will be going out to everyone, I believe, when voting starts. And then you can earn an additional reward for for actually voting. You'll get trinkets from the last 9 CSMs in the forms of what I anticipate to be basically like the Neo cards, if you guys remember those, or not the Neo cards, but the Neo cards and the 8 Alliance Tournament cards, sort of a collector's item thing. Next, this just came out, I believe, yesterday, is that Rise finally teased his new player experience work, and I gotta say, I didn't get a chance to read through the whole dev blog yet. I've been super busy. I'm glad to see a transition towards something a little more out there than just complete missions 1 through 10 and that. So the system looks to be a little bit in line with like the Minecraft achievement system, if you're familiar. The system looks pretty neat. I'm hoping to see more of it in the upcoming days. I still would like to see, and I don't know if they can do this in client or not. I'd still like to see a "Would you like to know more?" kind of tag that lets you go to like a little video that could maybe illustrate things. The work looks pretty cool. They also added they're adding these landmark sites to help you interact with the new player experience. I think it's kind of cool. I kind of think, though, it's halfway what we need. So I'm hoping we see a little bit more. And there might actually be something coming in FanFest. There might be another iteration coming down the pipe. CCP also announced a Worlds Collide FanFest tournament as a tie-in between the Chinese and American servers. I misspoke a moment ago about test servers and live server. And Peter1765 corrected me, so I'll make sure that he gets credit. The grand prize will be this Victory luxury yacht, and one server will get it, the other will not. So I know that for Tranquility, Tranquility is going to have the Camel Empire, I believe, competing, and I'm a huge fan of their work. I'm not familiar with the Chinese team, but that actually is way more interesting than I originally read the dev blog to be. So whichever server wins this gets it, and the other server will never ever see this ship. So I'm rooting for the Camel Empire guys. Also, just as a quick gloss over, Tiamat was released this week with the Svipool. And again, CSM season is getting into high gear. Voting is going to open up very soon here. And I encourage everyone to check out Capstable for candidate interviews and meta-analysis. So, without further ado, let's get on to PLEX. PLEX, okay. So PLEX is remaining flat. I had said I've been saying for the last few weeks that I expect it to stay between 800 and 820. It continues to stay between 800 and 820. We saw an uptick last week as a sale ended, but and we're back down to 800. So there's not much to say about the price of PLEX so far. As a grand speculation, if you are a betting man, I would keep your ear to the ground about FanFest, because I do expect some action in the week before and the week after FanFest, just as sort of a hype bubble to sort of drive some extra demand into the system. This might get wiped out by a PLEX sale, which is always a risk. So it's a risky bet. It's a very risky bet, and I don't think that the returns are going to be that great. But if you're a betting kind. That's what I would bet on. I don't expect to see things like PLEX really start gaining steam until we actually see some real news around SOV, and but I don't have a crystal ball about SOV, so that's as far as my prediction goes. I expect to stay in this 800, 810, 820 range, frankly, until we see a dev blog on SOV. There's really no reason for it to move a whole bunch. It might come down to like 795 if you get lucky, but I think we're in a really steady, stable state. As soon as SOV gets announced, though, as long as it's a content driver, prices should go up again. So not all of my advice is bad, I hope. Moving on to minerals. Minerals have been rather interesting. Titanium continues to fall. We're under 6 at the moment. I still think that 6.2 is where it should be, but with SOV, with the SOV null guys, with them not fighting any big wars, there's really nothing to soak up the mined low ends. So we're going to keep seeing the prices go down. This means it's a good time to go buy Tech One. I don't know when the bottom's going to be on this market, but the prices are going to keep sliding very, very slowly down. So this will be good for if you wanted to go pick up anything that needs a lot of minerals, like your capitals, your freighters, your battleships, that kind of thing. Oops. I am good at this. Let's try that one more time. In Pyrite, we're trending up slightly, but I don't think that this is really a trend to be watching. I think it's going to remain flat at the 12.2 it's been at. So I expect this to come down over the weekend. No reason not to think it will. I don't think it will go up. It will stay stable, or it will slide down very slowly. Mexilon was also showing some signals over the last couple of weeks of going up, but right now is trending downward rather strongly. We're seeing prices dip below 60. Again, same thing as Titanium. As long as we don't have a big SOV war to put the foot on the gas, we're going to see very weak oversupplies of low-end minerals. Isogen is the weird one this week. So it has been dancing around ever since the IS Boxer announcement, but it took a huge shot up over the last week. And if we look at the volume chart, we can see there was a big buyout that was driving the prices up. And they're really not coming down very as fast as I would expect. I still expect the 128 to 130 price to be the stable state. I don't think that Isogen's actually in a shortage. So these high prices are weird. But if you have the opportunity to go sell off some Isogen, now would be a great chance to cash out, because I expect this trend to be over by Monday. Another oddball in the middle has been Noxium keeps trending up, and as I've said before, I expect what I kind of expect is that we'd be undersupplied in Trit and oversupplied in Megasite, and then draw the curves between the two as a gradient. Noxium being on the mid-tier, the high end of the mid-tier, have been driving up, and I'm not really sure where that shortage is. I don't know if this is because the yields on it on high ends aren't that high, or if I'm not familiar enough with the yield tree to tell you exactly why it keeps trending up. I still think a price of 620 is the actual value of the thing, but so far I'm being proved wrong. So take my take my advice for what it's worth. Moving into the high end, Zydrene is looking to bottom out. I know you guys can't see it on the graph, but we're at the pre-IS Boxer announcement levels, and I expect it to stay here at the 410 level. Not a whole lot of reason for it to keep dropping. It could, but I don't think it's in that gross oversupply. I think 400 is about the floor here. And then Megasite has been trending down as well. We're not down yet to the IS Boxer level again, which is slightly under 700. But we should keep on this path down because we expect it to be oversupplied from wormholes and nullsec. Lastly, a bit of a wild card because I hate predicting it. Morphite went nuts this last week, rising over 1,500 a unit. This looked like some sort of... I don't know what's up with the dip and the spike. I expect it to be back down at 560 by Monday, but the price is going absolutely bonkers. We've been seeing a slight increase in the volumes, which is good to see. Means more Tech 2 is getting produced and consumed. But we shouldn't be seeing this huge spike up here. That's just unacceptable. Moving on to fuel. Fuel is remaining relatively quiet except for some weird blips. Nitrogen isotopes had been stable for the last few weeks, but took a pretty sharp dive as if someone was selling out a big chunk of stock. Under the 800 level. It has since rebounded, and we might see it bounce up to 820. But I expect that 815 level to be about the steady state. We also saw that rebound get telegraphed into the Caldari fuel blocks, but other than that, it should remain stable. Oxygen isotopes are continuing to trend down to 700. They have come back from the dive we were seeing over the last week or so. I don't expect them to go under 700, but I don't expect them to make it all the way up to 750. This is an isotope. I do expect it to actually rise in the longer run. Because it's a popular capital isotope and it's the riskiest of the ice to mine. But right now, without giant capital operations, there's just nowhere for all of those isotopes to go. So pair that with rumors I've been hearing about reaction towers being torn down because of terrible yields at the moment, and we'll continue to see low demand for oxygen isotopes. Galente fuel blocks had a bit of a weird spike a couple weeks ago and a dip in correction, but we're back at a steady state of about 16K. Helium isotopes, which go into Amar towers, keep trending down. They had rebounded from their fall under 600, but are trending back down to 600. Again, I have a hard time believing they're going to stay under 600 because I would hope that miners would stop mining at 600. But I don't know how these guys value their time, so maybe they'll just keep mining. Can't really tell you there. Amar fuel blocks also saw a bit of a weird spike over the last week. Usually we see this sort of weekend warrior spike. And last week we saw a particularly high one, and I hope you guys were producing for that because there should have been nothing else to drive the price this high. So nice little slice of extra margin there. And then hydrogen isotopes, which go into Minmatar equipment, remain flat. They're trending towards 660 at the moment. No reason to think they'll go anywhere else, and Minmatar fuel blocks are staying relatively flat. Moving on to outliers. We're going to start in the moon markets. I had pointed out last week that hypersynaptic fibers were very hot. I had expected the prices to stay higher than they did, but we're back to 10,000, which should still be a decent price if you're a reactor. I don't see it falling back down to 8,000 very quickly, but I could very well be wrong. Nano transistors was another one I've been predicting for a couple of weeks was going to do some spiking, mostly because of hotness in the platinum market and the neodymium market. And we've seen over the last couple of days a spike up. Over the weekend, we should continue seeing a rise. If you're in Tech 2, I would not buy these if you can avoid it. Wait until at least Monday to see if this is just a weekend bubble. The trends in the moon goo don't support a long-term price spike, so whatever it spikes to should be fixed within a week is the prediction I'm going to put out. Looking at the actual moon products, we saw last week that dysprosium took a big jump up, and continuing a rise, and we're finally seeing that heat start to dissipate. I still think dysprosium is vastly overrated, at way too high a price at the moment. But I don't own anything that has dysprosium on it, so I don't have my ears to the ground on the market. Again, I sort of expect this to fall back down because without nullsec fighting each other, you'd think that everyone would just try to get their regular cash out and take their ISK and take it to the bank. But I don't know. Maybe dysprosium is a thing worth holding. Promethium also spiked over the last week or so. And we'll talk actually at the end of the show about some of the other trends I had been watching but not featuring on the show, just because they're kind of hard to explain if you're not in the moon refining market. Again, this heat should be reflected in things like metamaterials and the ferrogel and the fermionic condensates and those higher end advanced products, but they're just not showing up. So if you're selling these high ends, you're making a lot of money, but if you're reacting the high ends, you're probably losing money, and that's just kind of a sucky thing. Moving on to ships, the Talos has been falling and falling. I expect the price to turn around over the weekend. I think this price is artificially low. But I don't know exactly why. I know Talos is our preferred structure bashing tier 3, but attack battle cruiser. But the Oracle, of course, doesn't have ammo, so I'm not sure why this has suddenly become so unpopular. Hopefully it'll turn around the next couple of days, and this one actually might be a decent place to start speculating. Another one that has been trending a bit low has been the Flycatcher. It was hot a few weeks back. I featured it on the show. It has since bounced back down. I think it's a little undervalued at the moment, so if you need a Flycatcher, go buy some. I wouldn't specifically speculate in them, so I don't think I would ramp up production or buy a bunch to sit and hold on them. Since the sweep pool has launched, we've seen the Jaguar take a huge nosedive. It's looking like it has bottomed out according to the bottom graph. Again, these tier 3 battle cruisers are going. These T3 destroyers are going to wreak havoc on the small ships that they match class with, because they are a really powerful platform for the money, and they're coming down in price pretty quickly, and you're seeing that the other replacements have to keep up. When the Confessor came out, we saw a sag in Daredevils and other sort of kitey ships. With this, we're seeing the fall of other light artillery. I know that Dracarn, that's who I'm thinking of. I know Dracarn featured on his blog a replacement to one of his favorite ships, the Artie Thrasher. So the Sveepool, even though it's not as strong an option as the Confessor, meta-wise, it's still gonna put waves through the small ship markets. Another one that has been trending way down, way bottom basement kind of prices is the Loki. I had expected that the 200 million mark was going to be sort of the place to be, that after this dip we were going to come back up to here, but we keep falling. I don't even think we're at the bottom yet. So this one is worth keeping your eye on if you need a Loki. I have a hard time believing they'll go under 150 million. It seems like a really losing proposition for T3 builders, but the prices just keep falling, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Another one that is in stark decline is the Tengu, but the Tengu does look like it bottomed out at about 145 million. So I would expect it to start turning around, and if you wanted to buy it, this is the best time you're going to get for a long time to buy it. And if you're speculating, this might be a decent chance to go and purchase a few and hold on to them, because I think the prices are going to come back up to at least the 180 mark. And another ship that's close to my heart but never really does much is the Sleipnir, flagged this week. It has been way down, and the only reason I featured it is, according to the bottom graph, we're turning around and should be heading up. So the volumes are extremely low, so it's probably not a great ship to speculate in, but it's a good chance to go buy some to speculate into. Moving on to modules, the focused modulated pulse energy beam ones spiked pretty high. They were extremely popular over the last week, and the prices are probably going to come back down again. This looks like a Weekend Warrior kind of thing. But they are pretty high. It might be a good chance to go sell off a few if you've got them. Moving on, the Mega Beam Laser 2s are also showing some heat. This might be a good chance to produce, but the volumes are extremely low, so be warned, this trend might not actually be anything. Moving on to the Survey Probe Launcher 2s. For moon spec, what's the word I'm looking for? Moon prospecting. Survey Probe Launcher 2s for moon prospecting. Looks like there was a huge buyout where somebody bought a bunch of them, and the prices have been absolutely insane. I would say get on this because I think the prices are going to stay high for the weekend, but according to the bottom, that it sells an average of... Oh, actually, no, it sells about 700 a week, so you actually might make some decent money. Small auxiliary nanopump 2s have been extremely popular this last week. We're seeing a pretty big demand. Well, not even demand. We're seeing a huge price spike, but not a huge demand spike, signaling some sort of buyout. So this looks like either a production shortage, which as a Tech 1 rig I can't possibly believe, or it's an actual meta thing. So this one will be interesting to watch over the next week. Moving on, as I said with the Confessor, everything that you'd expect to put on a Confessor was very hot after Rhea. Now, after Tiamat, everything that you'd want to put on a Sveepool is popular. So, the Efreer & Co. Gunslinger Small Projectile Turret SP603 has been extremely popular. It looks like there may have been a buyout. I don't know if the prices are going to... I don't know when the prices are going to move exactly. I don't know if we're going to see a rubber banding here. But it might be a good chance to cash out some LP to go and jump in this market. Moving on to the Genealotion Core Augmentation CA1s. These are popular for new pilots or fresh alts. They provide not only an attribute boost, but also a fitting boost. They're sort of a crutch for low skill point kind of characters. They have been extremely popular over the last few days. It looks like there was a buyout last week, and the prices keep climbing. If you had been holding on to some of these from a giveaway, might be a good chance to sell them. If you can get your hands on them, I would sell them. Again, this is the kind of thing that's hard to play with once the bubble has happened, but I know that I have a bunch sitting in a hangar somewhere, so I might cash them out this weekend. Another interesting one, and this one's going to be a bit of a double whammy, is the Federation Navy 10 meganewton afterburner has been declining and is flagging that it should be rising. So if you have if you have Galente loyalty points, it might be a good chance to go and cash out some of them. But on the other side of the coin, the Republic fleet 10 meganewton afterburners are also falling down with a weak signal that they might come back up. So it's kind of a mixed bag here. I would expect they're kind of substitutes for each other. It's a bit of it's kind of a weird dichotomy on this one. Almost done here. The Ogre 2 are extremely high this week. I don't know. It looks like there may have been some extra buying activity to drive the price up. These are very popular in a lot of PvP equipment, so if you can go build them, now would be a great chance to dump a bunch on the market. If you have a stockpile that you'd been sitting on but your meta changed, this would be a great chance to sell them, but I wouldn't be buying into this one at the moment. Also, nanite repair paste is trending up, so if you're building that out of your PI equipment, happy days. It looks like it's going to keep climbing for a little bit. I have a hard time believing we'll make it all the way up to 2400 or 24k. I can't tell how many zeros are on there. But the prices look to be going up and should continue to be going up. And then another one, this one actually is a speculation target, is Galente Control Towers took a huge dive last week. Again, basically, this is my confirmation that the news of moon reactors basically throwing in their towels were trending back up again, and I do believe that if you bought in and were patient, you could hit 350 million a stick. I don't know when that's going to happen. Again, you may have to wait as long as it takes for SOV announcements to come out, so patience will be a virtue on this one. And again, be very careful because the volume actually sold here is very light, so it's a good way to get hung if you get a little too greedy. Moving into prediction review, where we go in and figure out if I was right or wrong last week. So this is the graph that's been coming up in my analysis for the last 3 weeks that I haven't put on the show because it's an intermediate product for moon refining. So if you guys haven't done moon refining, it's a 3-stage process. So first you extract the raw materials from the moon. Second, you react those into basic materials, like this caesarium cadmide. There's a whole bunch of them. And then there's one other enrichment step where you take it from that intermediate up to the advanced material that is consumed in the Tech 2 component market. The market here is extremely unstable because there is a very limited amount of people who buy these intermediate products for refining. Most people either buy the raw material, the very raw Moon product, or they mine the original Moon product. So these can be really, really unstable, and it had been. This is the sort of thing I was pointing at for the last few weeks, saying that there's instability in the POS market, and it looks like we're going to see something spike, and instead we saw the bubbles pop here on Caesarium cadmide, and a little bit on neomercurite. So neomercurite is going to go into nanotransistors for sure, and it remains high, and this is why I think that nanotransistors are going to keep trending up over the weekend. But I also expect this high to pop pretty soon as somebody sees that there's something worth doing. So those are the couple that came up. This is the weirdness that's happening under the covers. I don't really see why I should highlight it in the show proper, but I thought it was finally a good chance to show you guys what was going on underneath the hood. Another prediction I missed is that I had said that I had flagged last week that broadcast nodes were on the way up, and that I expected them to spike and then peter off like we had seen over the last few weeks, where we saw this sort of rolling spike moving through the P4s. It spiked a lot higher than I expected, but then it went ahead and came right back down a lot faster than I expected. So I'm going to count that one as wrong. Another one that I had highlighted because I didn't believe it would go much lower was the Chronos. And as we see, it dipped under $1 billion. So if you need a Chronos, if you want to stock up for an Alliance tournament or something like that, they are super cheap right now, and at just under $1 billion, I think it's a steal, but we'll see. They might dip down just a little bit further before they come back. And it might be another 2 or 3 weeks before they do the spike again for builders. So just keep an eye on that. This might be a good chance to start cooking some for the spike that should be coming in a couple of weeks. And with that, we're going to close the show as we have in the last few weeks with the CSM ticket that I am officially endorsing. I did not get a chance to add a new person onto this list. Actually, I'm going to add 2 more on by the next... I'm going to fill in those last 2 empty slots with Bam Stroker and June Ting are going to be the 5 and 6 slots from... for my CSM ticket. So, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, Sugar Kyle is the best CSM on the CSM at the moment. If you don't know who to vote for and you don't want to waste your vote, Sugar Kyle is a secure place to do it. Steve Ronikin is rather specifically my candidate because he is the third-party dev candidate. He is amazing and is way too humble. He gets a lot more done than he claims he does. He is an amazing resource. I invite people to come join us on the Tweetfleet Slack and hang out in the dev fleet. If you've ever had a question about the SDE or the API, this guy knows his stuff. Another endorsement goes to Ashtarothi of the Hydrostatic and High Drag podcasts. He is running rather strongly on a lore platform and a new player experience platform. Again, he's a good friend. I will be voting for him actually in one of my top slots because I think he's got a long way to go to win a seat. So I'll have more information about that next week and on this upcoming week's Cap Stable show. And then the last one on the show right now is Jane Fillon. If you are at all interested in the unofficial sort of player groupings like the NPSI communities or the weak alliances we have to do in faction warfare or any of that stuff, Jane Fillon is a definitely good candidate for that. The last two not pictured here are Bam Stroker, who, if you are at all a community outreach guy, if you like Eve Vegas, if you like FanFest or Evesterdam or Eve Down Under, all of those, he is the guy he is one of those guys who is really pushing a lot of those. And if you want to see more of those from CCP, he's the guy to go to. And then actually I'm sort of 50-50 between Jun Ting, who is, I believe, Brave, and I want to say Wingspan TT, and that's not who he's running as, because I am prepared tonight. I'm going to edit the crap out of this one tonight. It's not the right folder. Words. I have such good notes. I have such bad notes. Okay, no, I don't have the last notes for the guy. So, with that, I'm going to end the show. As I've said before, I am looking for some graphic design help to make a logo for the show, for basically as if this was an actual news show. I invite everyone to come get in touch with me. You can contact me on the Tweetfleet at HLibIndustry. You can... Oh, there we go. That's the word. Sorry. Let's try this one more time. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in this week. I've been your host, Lockefox. You can catch me on the Tweetfleet at HLibIndustry. You can catch me on the Tweetfleet Slack, where I'm hosting the Prosper channel. If you want to talk about this show off the air, you can follow the show, if you can't tune in live, on YouTube at youtube.com/EveProsper. You can tune in live on Fridays at 0300 at twitch.com/HLibIndustry. And as always, I have been your host. Thanks again for tuning in. All right, guys, on the stream, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, pause the stream, restart it, and go ahead and start answering questions. Feel free to keep asking them. We'll run about 30 minutes, and I'll see if I can get Etienne on the line so we can have some wider Q&A or discussion.